Hey guys, David Foster here, and it is Sunday. I'm just sitting around. Had a little bit of a stomach bug this morning, so not feeling the greatest. But I've been wanting to do this video for a while now, talking about like how do we have conversations like the right and the left or the middle or anything, because it seems like no matter what, if something's happening, like let's talk about Israel, for instance. Israel and Palestine, that's going on right now. Unless you're under a rock and don't know that, there's something going on over there right now. And it's been going on for a very long time. But you have people being forced to pick a side. And if you don't pick the side that the person you're talking to is on, you're an anti-Semite, you're with the terrorists, you're a Hamas supporter, whatever. It's like you cannot take a side in this without being called a name or without a fight or without an argument or without people trolling you and getting upset with you. You just can't. And that seems to be with just about every situation that we face in this country. There are people that if you're not pro-choice, it's the same thing. If you're not pro-life, like it's this constant battle. And one of the biggest issues is our government continues to push those fringe ideas, those fringe things, because they know that they can keep us fighting against each other. They keep us completely divided. And it's with very few things: gun control, abortion rights, the right to their body, and now the LGBTQ thing. Like those things are fringe things. And so all of the politicians, they focus on those fringe things, and that way they can keep us fighting each other, while down the middle, war, pharmaceuticals, all of the big donor things, all of the big corporations that fund their super PACs and their campaigns, all the big donors, everything that those people are for, they're all for. You just don't generally know that because they don't, in their rhetoric, they're focused on the outskirts of what can keep us fighting. But in the middle, they're passing legislation. They're sending money to these people. They're sending money to Ukraine. They're sending money to Israel now. We send money everywhere. And basically all the money we're sending everywhere, we're borrowing from China. So it's not even our money. But with that, very few disagree. So we're caught in the middle of this, and we're out here on the outskirts fighting each other, which is perfect for them because then they can do whatever the hell they want in the dark of night because nobody holds them accountable. Nobody's reading legislation. People aren't going to whitehouse.gov and downloading bills and reading them, especially because a lot of the bills are like, 3, 4, 6,000 pages. I remember when I read the Jobs Act that came out under Obama, and it was just this huge bill of all this bloated shit that was in the bill. And people are like, they sell the bill on this one little thing. Like, okay, if you don't pass this bill, you're anti-American, or, the Save the People Act or whatever. And it's like, if you don't sign this bill, you don't want to save people, like you're not for people. It's like they just frame it that way. Like the Patriot Act is a huge one. The Patriot Act, when that passed, they had 24 hours to read it. It had some of the most egregious legislation, some of the worst things that have happened to our liberties in our lifetime or in our existence happened in the Patriot Act. And they had 24 hours to read it. And they were saying, if you don't pass this, you're not a patriot. If you don't pass this, you're for the terrorists. And so they passed it, and we lost so many rights. The executive branch gained so much power in the Patriot Act. And that Patriot Act there's the ability for each president to walk that back. It goes back in action every so often, and the president can be like, nope, it's not, we're going to pull it out, going to get rid of it. But no, they keep not only reenacting it, but expanding upon it. So as we're out here losing our freedoms, that's the kind of stuff that they are doing in the dark of night, is taking away our liberties while we fight about single topic issues, single focus issues. And in order for us to be able to have any kind of power or any kind of control to take back our government, to take back our country, we all absolutely have to move to the middle. It's not going to be done on the right or the left. because we're going to have these two factions that are always fighting. But how in the world do we come to a place where we find common ground and we move to the middle? Is it too late for that to happen? I don't know. And the thing is, like, from what I see, because doing the Redacted show and seeing people have conversations online, I mean, I really read a lot of comments. I listen to people, I see what they're saying, and if somebody posts a link to something, even though they're completely opposite end of where I am on an issue, I still go read it, I still go get the information, and if that information moves me, I'm happy to move to a different place in my research. But if it just ends up solidifying where I already am because it doesn't make sense, it has, like I was arguing with somebody over COVID about ivermectin at one point. And this person sent me these links and said, here are these studies, read these, you're crazy. And I'm like, okay, I read the studies. And guess what? Albert Borland was one of the main authors of one of the studies, who is the CEO of Pfizer. So I'm like, look, you're sending me things that are paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. So of course they're going to be negative against ivermectin. They have to be, because if they didn't have ivermectin, then they couldn't get emergency use authorization for the vaccine. But of course, this person unfriended me, blocked me, and told me I was absolutely crazy, and they had no idea that I was this insane. And it's like, I'm kind of trying to, like, on my end thinking, I feel kind of the same way, like, it seems insane to me that people can't see through that stuff. But we have to always step back and remember, we were all where they were once, right? So how do we have conversations with people that don't lead to that? Is it even possible? With some people, it absolutely is not. But I believe that it's only because they are not at a point where they're ready to listen. So how do you communicate with people? Well, you have to be the one willing to listen. You have to be willing to go down the links that they sent you and come back with an argument against or for, because if they, like, that's how I learned. I go to people's links. I'll read what they post. And sometimes I do find information in there that's compelling. I'm like, wow, I never saw it that way. So then I go against the information that I have had and I cross-reference it and kind of like pick both of them apart and see if it moves me one way or the other. If it does, I'm happy to move. And then I start looking into going in more in that direction. And some people, not only are they not willing to do that, they don't know how. So as we've grown this audience on Redacted and on this channel, my channel here, I know a lot of people are where I'm at, right? They have been there. They are waking up to what is going on. They understand that our government is corrupt. They understand that we mean nothing to them and that we basically have zero representation in Washington, D.C. We have nobody there for us. There are so many people that follow me and follow Redacted that are there, but there are still people that are way back here. It's a good example is when I started teaching people online in 2000 and I believe it was 2005 or 2006. I was teaching people how to create social media platforms or profiles online. And so I was doing these trainings, and in one of the trainings, my mind was just blown away and open when I said, just do this copy and paste this into your description. And somebody is like, raised their hand in the chat room thing that I had and said, how do you copy and paste? And I was like, oh shit. Like, you just assume that people are as knowledgeable about a topic as you are. But that's not always the case. So that really was an epiphany moment for me, because I was like, wow, some people are just now getting to the point where they just got online. They just got a computer. They have no idea. You say copy and paste, they have no idea what you mean. So with people as well, with information, it's the same thing. Some people don't know how to do research. They don't know how to go outside the mainstream media because they don't know where to go. Some people aren't living on social media like some of us do, getting our news every single day. Some people don't watch Redacted. Some people don't watch independent journalists and get information that is different from the mainstream. There are people out there that are still beholden to the mainstream media, and that is not their fault. It is the government's fault because they use it as propaganda, so it's easy to propagandize those people. Now, generally, they are older people, people that are either aren't really familiar with how the internet works yet, or people that are just diehard Fox fans or MSNBC fans, like real just hardcore, basically cultists. And if you're somebody that's like an avid Fox News viewer, I'm not putting you down. I'm just saying a lot of people are so, they just feel like they're getting real news from those places, and they are not. And they don't know that yet. But what do they have to cross-reference it against? How do they know that they're not? If they don't see a counter narrative, if they're not watching independent journalists, because independent journalism is really the only way they're going to find that stuff out. And independent journalism is squelched, is censored. So in their mind, if they're like, okay, so there's something that I want you to watch. So if I have somebody that I'm talking to, I'm like, hey, there's something that I really need you to watch. It's important, and it has a lot of data. And then you share the link, and it's a Rumble link. What do they say? I'm not going there and watching that right-wing conspiracy theory website. Well, I would send them a YouTube link, but guess what? It's a video that YouTube censored and took down. It is a factual video that has data, backed up facts, sourcing on those facts, yet they don't want to go to Rumble and watch it because that's a right-wing channel. And because of their channels that they watch, MSNBC, or the papers that they read, or the journals that they read, or maybe if they are online, the blog posts that they read, or the media that they might happen to watch online, on their side of the narrative, on the left or the right or whatever, they're going to call that website whatever they have been told to call that. They're going to think what they have been told to think about that website. There are people that are going to take the vaccine because they are told that that was the right thing to do, and they believe it. They believe that is the right thing to do. And I believe in my heart of hearts that most people actually genuinely believe that they were helping people and they were doing the right thing. But the positive side of this is, I don't think they realized how many people the vaccine was actually directly going to injure or affect. And so I think that you had more people wake up because of that. You also have more people waking up because of what Biden is doing in Israel. You have people on the left actually realizing what kind of party they are supporting, because most of the Democrats support Palestine. So they're like, wait, what are we doing? Biden is going in and giving money to Israel and saying that they'll help Israel attack Palestine. So all of a sudden, you've just had this huge fracture in the left, a huge fracture. What Biden is doing is going to tear that party in half. And that's a good thing, because the more things that they do out in the open, the more things they do where it affects everyday people that aren't online, people that aren't watching independent journalism, that's when the message starts to spread, because then those people, they're like, I have an adverse reaction to the vaccine. I'm not seeing the mainstream media say anything about it. Nobody's talking about it. So they start Googling. They're not going to find it on Google, but somehow they find information, and then they end up on a website. They read a blog post or something. Then they see a Rumble video, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I watched this video on Rumble. I thought this was a right-wing platform, but I found out a lot of information on this video, and now I have a goal of how I can help myself with what I've been dealing with. So I guess like the biggest thing that you need to do, in my opinion, when you're trying to have conversations with people, is listen and be willing to have your mind changed. Always go into every conversation with the thought that, hey, my mind might be changed by this conversation. Now, there's some that are just trolls, and you know you're absolutely not going to stand a chance, and you know who those people are. There's no hope for some people, okay? Some people are just too far out there, and you just have to walk away from them because they're never going to listen. But by you continually saying what you say and just standing your ground. If they ever, not like if they're like, did you get your vaccine? Like, no, I'm not doing that because of this, this, and this. Stand your ground, explain yourself, but don't fight about it. Don't argue about it. They're going to probably try, but there's no need to do that because they're not going to listen. But eventually, once something happens to them that's really close to home, that's personal, hey, we went and took our grandson to get vaccinated and he died. You were right. You were right this whole time. So sometimes we have no choice but to wait for those people to have it affect them personally. As much as we would like to try to save them from that happening by telling them don't get these vaccines, and that's another reason why I don't like to use the language. When people are like in our chat and we're starting talking about the vaccines, they're like, why do you keep calling it a vaccine? Why don't you call it what it is, a bioweapon? Well, you have to meet people where they are. If I'm out there saying to somebody who is, getting the vaccine and they're pro-vaccine and they think they're doing the right thing, and I'm like, I can't believe you took that freaking bioweapon. That makes to them, I'm just going to make it, they're going to just write off what I'm saying immediately because I'm using terminology that sounds conspiratorial, right? So you don't want to do that. We know that that's what it is. You absolutely know that's what it is. You know what's in it. You know the bad sides of it. You know the side effects. You know what's really going on. You know how it came to fruition. You know that it is population control. You know all those things. But you can't just dump that on people that are still way back here and have no idea what you're talking about. So, and I feel like trying to meet people where they are with the conversation, meet people where they are and be willing to listen more. Listen more than you talk. Be willing to listen to their side, even though you're their side. You know what they're going to say. If it's somebody that's important to you, if it's a relationship that you actually care about, be willing to listen more and go through their links that they're sending you, go through the information that they have and try to present your side in a very calm, very I know you're saying this, but this is what I found. And would you be willing, I know that everybody calls this platform a right-wing platform, but this video was blocked on YouTube. But I feel like it was blocked for a reason, but it's got really good information. It's all sourced information. It's a really good video. I really wish you would watch it because it's talking about the exact same thing you're talking about. And meeting them where they are conversationally, not just, where they are in their journey, but how you're delivering the information. And again, this is only for people you actually care to have a conversation with. These are people that you care about. These aren't the trolls that are just out there saying whatever the hell they want to, and no matter what you say, they're just going to tell you you're stupid, call you racist, all that other stuff. Those people, at some point, hopefully will wake up as well, but there are some people where you just have to walk away. You just have to walk away. You have to say, I don't want to completely lose this friendship, or I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. I don't want to feel miserable because this person is telling me I'm a racist and get all mad and pissed off and post things that you don't necessarily really mean, and really make yourself look like the nut that they think you are. You want to try to avoid that. And it's been, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I go and have had arguments on Facebook big time. And sometimes I have, with people that have led me down that road, been pulled right into name calling. It happens. We are human beings. Emotions do run high when it's something that you really care about. When you really feel like what you know could save countless lives, you want to tell everyone. And people that are counter what you're saying, you want to argue with because you're trying so damn hard to get your message out to potentially save people that you feel like you have to do it. And you still can. You still can do it. You just have to, like I did with what's going on in Israel and Palestine. I didn't take a side. I did not take a side. And I still don't take a side. The side that I'm on, if I am taking a side, are the innocent people on both sides. The innocent people that don't want this, the innocent people that are dying, being killed, and losing their homes, or whatever that may be, those are the people that I'm on the side of. I am not on the side of these governments. I am not on the side of the military industrial complex. I am not on the side of those people. I am on the side of innocent humans on both sides. In doing that, like, let's take Ukraine and Russia, for instance. I am anti-war, okay? I am vehemently anti-war, and you know that the Redacted crew is as well. But as you get information, okay, when we were told that Putin invaded Ukraine, that didn't sit well with me because I had already been looking at the history. I had already been paying attention to what was going on. And I knew what Putin was doing was a liberation. And I also knew that he was doing everything in his power to avoid civilian casualties. I know that he was doing everything as strategic as he could. He was waiting, he was sitting back, and a lot of people don't realize that had Putin wanted to, he could completely decimate Ukraine. He could have completely went in there and annihilated it and just took it over using a playbook from the United States. He could have done that. He could have just went in, dropped shock and awe, and taken it over, if that's what he wanted to do. But it's obvious that's not what he wanted to do. So over time, I became pro-Putin. I am pro what Putin is doing. And Putin has proven to be a much better leader than anything we've had here in the United States in the past, I don't know how long. The problem is if you say something like that, then people think that you just condone everything the man has done in history, and that is not true. I do not. I just feel like his level-headedness in this situation has been a testament to what other world leaders should be like when dealing with the conflict. He is in Ukraine liberating ethnic Russians from devastation by Western Ukraine. So still 100% being anti-war, but moving in the direction of picking a side because you see what Putin has done, you see what he has not done, which is just gone in and dropped bombs indiscriminately and taken the bait and shot schools where Ukrainians set up munitions and stuff on top of schools, on top of hospitals, trying to draw Putin's missiles in so that they could then use that and say, hey, these are Russian bombs. That's why all the information, you don't see information coming out with civilian locations being hit by Russian bombs. It always turns out to be Ukrainian or American. Why? Because they're hitting their own buildings and trying to blame it on Russia because Russia hasn't given them the... If Russia actually hit a building in Ukraine and did that kind of damage and killed civilians, you can bet your bottom dollar that the mainstream media would be there. They would be there in mass. It would be all over the news, and they would be showing the rockets. They would be showing that it came from Russia. They would be doing everything they could to show you that Russia is committing these atrocities. But the reason you don't see that is because they are not. So, still being anti-war, I am pro what Russia is doing because of the way they're doing it. They're doing it in a humane way. Yes, Ukrainian soldiers are dying, but Russia has told them over and over again, if you surrender, you will be taken alive and you will be taken care of. And that is the truth. They have done that. And they have shown to do that. Not on the other side. Ukraine has basically assassinated or what do you call it when they just, killed Russian soldiers in cold blood rather than keeping them alive. So that's kind of like the same thing in Israel. Yes, Hamas attacked Israel, right? And then Israel is retaliating. But let's say it was 300, 400, 500, maybe 1,000 people were killed in Israel by Hamas, who Hamas is funded and was created by the United States and Israel. So this was a strategy. Netanyahu even said it himself that this is the strategy. Infiltrate Palestine with Hamas and they will weed them out. That is what is happening. But even if you had those 1,000 people killed by Hamas, let's say Hamas was a legitimate organization that was not created by the U.S. and Israel. Let's say it was legit. They do this attack. That does not mean that Israel should be going in and just killing thousands upon thousands of innocent people in search of these people. That is not what that means, and that's what happens. So at some point, you have to look at it and be like, Israel is in the wrong. You have to start moving to a side that you agree more with, even if you don't agree with the war overall, but the tactics of the government that's doing the most atrocities is who I would be against. So when you're having conversations about this stuff, be neutral as you can be. Go to people's links and listen more. Listen more and don't wait to talk. Even though you know you have points you want to make, even though you know you have information that you want to share, just try to relax and try to enter the conversation with the thought that your mind might be changed. They might change your mind. Possibly not, but they might possibly. Be willing to go read links, even if it's stuff you don't agree with. Go watch a Rachel Maddow clip, even if you don't agree with it, just to see where they are coming from. If you read the information that they give you, you'll know exactly where they're coming from, and that puts you in a much better place to come around with other information based on where they are. You know, I remember that this is a bad example of Comcast because Comcast sucks, but there was a time, believe it or not, that Comcast really had great customer service. And why? Because they had a motto, go where the people are to make sure they're taken care of. And so they were on Twitter, they were on social media, and if you said anything about your Comcast service, they were on it. They DM'd you, they helped you, and they got it fixed as soon as they could. That was before they basically became a monopoly, and now they're really only the only choice in a lot of towns, and that customer service has gone to shit. But that's what they used to do. And that's what you need to do. You need to go where people are and be willing to step backwards. Be willing to step outside of where you are, because you're like way over here and they're still way back here. You can't like just grab them and pull them. If you try to pull people to you, you're always going to get resistance. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? If you try to yank a horse and pull it, it's going to resist you. But if you walk next to it and you just hold it gently and come back to where it is, generally they will walk right next to you. And it's the same thing with people. If you try to pull them as hard as you can where you are going to get resistance. If you come to where they are and you talk to them, you can do more like this. You know, be willing to go back a little bit to go forward. That's how my whole journey into finding the truth was. I went back several times. I went back like on 9/11, which was my very first foray into conspiracy theories, and I kept going back to the main story. And every time I went back to the main story, I'm like, this makes zero sense. Like, it's illogical. And it kept pushing me back to the real information, the facts. I'd go back to the old story, the original story, because would they really do this? Would our government really do this? And then back over here I am. That makes no sense. This makes no sense. Yeah, this makes no sense. This is the only one that makes sense. This is logical. This is illogical. But you have to be willing to go back and help people find the logic or the lack of logic in their thinking. But you can't do that by just telling them you're wrong. You are wrong. That'll never work. It doesn't matter. Think about how you would want somebody to talk to you and how you got the information that you have. Like when you were on your journey, think about how people talk to you. How did they talk to you? How did they speak to you? What was it that opened your mind? Think about that and try to do that. Try to open their mind in a more gentle manner. That's just my opinion. That's how I feel about it. I try to do that. And sometimes, hey, you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to get pissed off and you are going to fail, and that's fine. That is absolutely fine. I usually end up failing with people that I know that I'm not going to have a chance with anyway. And maybe that's how I vent my frustration on the people that I know that I'm not going to flip, because they're so entrenched on a team that they don't give a shit about facts. If people don't give a shit about facts because they're in a faction, and they're unwilling to move, unwilling to even look at another side, move on and find the people that are willing to have the conversation, because those are the people that we need to find the truth. All right. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you didn't find this too condescending. I'm not being condescending, towards people that watch media or anything. Honestly, I understand, because I was there once. My grandparents were there their whole lives. They always watched the news. And anytime I tried to give them any outside information, they were just like, yeah, whatever. Don't want to hear it. Fox News. So I'm not saying that, I'm not meaning anything negative by it, but we just have to be willing to look outside of those things. And if you're going to watch mainstream media, then by at least go out and get information from independent journalists so you have a counter narrative. Find something that's counter to what you're hearing on another channel, whatever it is, MSNBC, Fox. Find a counter and listen to it, and then think logically about which side makes more sense. Where do you fall? If you're on the left, listen to the right. If you're on the right, listen to the left. And then you'll start to be like, okay, the left is saying this, that doesn't make sense. Move a little bit more over here. And honestly, every time I've done that, I end up somewhere just past the middle, a little bit more to the right, but middle and just past the middle, a little bit more to the right. So to say the right tends to be more on many things, but there are some things that they are absolutely wrong about. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate all of the feedback and comments that I've been getting. You guys are amazing. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell. Make sure you are following me over on Rumble at rumble.com/David Foster and over on X at David Foster Show, because very soon I'm going to be streaming exclusively to those two platforms for my live streams, and you want to make sure that you are ready for that. It's not going to be for a while. I'm going to stream on all the platforms for a while to get people moved over, because you kind of have to do that because there's not a big discovery process on Rumble yet or X. So stay tuned for that, and then be sure to follow over there as well because I do post a lot over on X, more than I post probably anywhere else. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.